Welcome to another episode of Video Store Rejects. This is a podcast where we discuss directors' filmographies and our favorite film franchises. I'm your host, Cody House. I have a very special guest with me today, Mr. Jacob Heron. How are you, Jacob?
What's up, people? Hey, what's going on? I'm Jacob from the Cellcast, where we review animated movies and talk nerdy stuff.
Today we are rectifying a series we did last year. Part of this was I know you had internet issues, but
Yeah.
also part of this was how incredibly hard it is to find this movie because
Yes.
this and The Abyss, for whatever reason, it's like a treasure hunt when you see it streaming somewhere because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times they're not even available to rent. Like I know, which that irritates me alone. I feel like as many streaming services as we have now, I don't feel like I should have to pay extra to rent a movie online. I'm like, why isn't it just on this streaming service? But also, these movies aren't on Blu-ray or 4K.
No.
They're just on DVD, and they're not
Yeah.
very good DVD
No, they're
copies.
not. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, in search for these rare gems, be like watching or trying to find True Lies on DVD. I'd be like every time I would stop in, be like if they had a video store or whatever, do you have True Lies? Of course, they didn't have it. And I found it on I think it's like I found it at a local shop because they ordered it for me, so I bought it. Because if you bought it on Amazon, it's gonna be like ridiculous, like $40 for a DVD. It's like no, be like yeah, if we're talking like a 4K ultra, steel disc, yes, in a heartbeat. But just a DVD, no, thank you.
And I'm pretty sure I have a DVD of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
I
pretty
thought I
sure
did.
it's from the late 90s, so it's probably just a pan and scan of the VHS copy that came
Yeah,
out.
probably.
Or maybe Laserdisc, I'm not sure. But yeah, and some celebrities actually even like tweeted James Cameron about this, like, why isn't there a Blu-ray or 4K of The Abyss? And he's like, well, so apparently he owns the rights to both The Abyss and True Lies, so he has to oversee the transfer of them.
That makes sense.
And he said it would take him over 28 hours to do this. Well, sir, I say you have spent what 13 years making your Avatar sequel. You
Uh
could
huh.
you could spend 28 hours getting us a Blu-ray or 4K of The Abyss and
Exactly.
True Lies.
It's like,
Like
come on, man, chop chop, let's do it.
take your time away from Pandora and your Thunder Smurfs and
Thunder
like
Smurf.
get us a nice physical copy of both of these movies
Yeah,
because yeah,
yeah.
they're
'Cause
not even
go ahead.
they weren't even available to rent. But luckily for people who don't
Mhm.
own this, it is currently streaming on Hulu, and it does look like because I watched it on Hulu just to see
Mhm.
because the movie's been trending apparently on social media because people are like, "Hey, True Lies is streaming,"
Oh
and
my gosh,
and it's actually a pretty decent copy.
it
Like
is.
it looks like they did a little bit of some sort of digital transfer or something to make it look less grainy.
Yeah, they cleaned it up a little bit, which I was very appreciative of because I've watched the DVD I owned and it is grainy as all out. And watching this on Hulu, which there again, I'm thankful for Hulu they actually get this movie, and it's like wow, this is a very clean transfer. It looks great.
Yeah, maybe they could just make this into a Blu-ray. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
or make it like a combo pack with the Abyss. And
Exactly.
all us movie fans would be like, yes, please give take our money. We will take it.
Well, I mean, every other Cameron movie has a Blu-ray or 4K disc, and maybe
That is
he does.
true.
And part of that is because Aliens is part of a franchise, so
Hmm.
that's a package deal. And maybe he doesn't have the rights to the Terminator or Titanic, and of course, Avatar came out in that
Hmm.
era.
Yeah.
So, but I know the reason you picked this movie was because T2 and Aliens were taken, but of
Mhm.
the movies that were available, why did you want to talk about this one?
Well, True Lies was one of those films that obviously it came out when it did in 1994, and I remember watching it because we went over to like a family member's house, and we watched it. And granted, my parents knew nothing about this film. My aunt and uncle didn't know anything about this film. So, coming from a very conservative family, so we get to the scene where they've asked her to go as a spy, as undercover to plant this bug, and here comes the strip scene, and both my aunt and mother are like, "Boys, go to your cousin's room now." And so that implanted in my mind there's something about this film. And so as an adult, be like watching it much later in life, it's it's a it's a gem that just it's an enjoyable film, and I really enjoy it. It's one of those, like a friend of mine would say, it's not a popcorn muncher, but it's got some depth and it's got some reality to it. It's not just one of these movies that I can just munch down popcorn and drink your favorite drink while you're watching a movie and not even think about the film. But there's things about this movie you can think about, and it's really enjoyable.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's not quite just a popcorn movie. I do think it's lower tier Cameron, but there's still like because it's him, there's something there a little bit more than
Hmm.
just being an action movie. Interesting thing about that scene you mentioned is that apparently originally it was going to be like a full nude scene with her in the dark, so you don't see anything, it's all in
Oh, okay, didn't know
silhouette.
that.
But apparently Jamie Lee Curtis rehearsed this scene with Cameron,
Hmm.
and she came up with the idea like, well, let's do it in the light, but I have lingerie on.
Hmm.
And also her fall, like that was
Hmm.
she apparently did that during a rehearsal and Cameron liked it. So
Oh yeah,
he said, no, keep that when we shoot the scene,
and
which
they
was
didn't tell Schwarzenegger this.
yeah, they didn't tell Schwarzenegger about this scene, and also he wasn't supposed to drop the tape recorder he
No, he
had
wasn't.
of the French guy talking, but Cameron thought it was funny.
Yeah,
And
the
this
one of the go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say the interesting thing about this is I don't James Cameron doesn't strike me as a funny person, but he did a pretty good job of making a comedy.
Yeah, it's one of those rare things. Be like, because there again, we all be like, if you watch James Cameron's film, I'm not watched all of them. I still need to watch The Abyss. I haven't watched Titanic because when that movie came out, all the girls were like, "Oh, Leo," and I was like, "No, thanks. I'm getting jealous already." So I have the movie on Blu-ray, so I am going to watch it someday. Um, Funny enough, it was one of the first movies I went on a date. My girlfriend's Bailey, you watch Titanic, and I was like, stupidly, I said no, so we watched Pearl Harbor instead. But nuance,
Oh,
yeah,
you
yeah,
should have chose Titanic, sir.
yeah. Agree. They were both 3 hour films, but Michael Bay is a good director. He just likes these explosives.
Yeah, I think Michael Bay is good at directing action movies,
He
and I
is.
think he needs a good script. I think Cameron is a little bit better of a director.
He is. He is. So going back to the scene at hand, it was the fact that like when Jamie Lee Curtis character uh fell, obviously Schwarzenegger didn't know it, so his reaction was genuine. He was inconcerned. He dropped his character for a moment, and then he composed himself because you can see it in the film. And he'd be like, that entire scene where he drops it is like, it's just his natural reactions. Oh my gosh, what's going on? And it's like, oh, I gotta get back to that character. And it's a bit like when you realize that information, man, that makes it so much better. Because how they pulled that on Schwarzenegger, who at the time was this enormous megastar who could get in any film and just make it box office gold. And then you go a couple of years down the road, you get The Last Action Hero and other films that didn't do well, and his career kind of tanked after that a little bit, and then he became the Governor.
Well, interesting. I think Last Action Hero actually came out before this, and this was
Really?
like, yeah, this was like his attempt at getting another hit.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
But you did bring up something that I wanted to talk about. I think this is kind of the end of his reign as like the king of action movies, right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Like he had that run from like we could maybe say Conan or at least by the first Terminator up to
Mm-hmm.
this movie. Like he was the king of the action film. Like, he was dominating
Mm-hmm.
the box office. And Stallone was there, but Stallone really only has a few films that were really genuine hits. The thing that separates them is Stallone keeps reinventing himself and remaining relevant, whereas Arnold's like, I'm fine just being me. I don't
Yeah,
need to be a huge star anymore.
yeah. That's one thing I do like about Schwarzenegger as an actor. He's not be like I'm trying to clamor for the former glory. Be like, hey, I'm just gonna take roles as they are. I'm gonna go do celebrity things here or there, but I'm not gonna try to, you know, pull a Sylvester Stallone and try to grab what glory I can is and I appreciate that from an actor. Be like he's an older actor. He doesn't have to be the 30-year-old star he used to be. He can just be an actor and go into roles that he feels comfortable in and not
It-
rehash every role he ever did. Well,
well,
he
yeah.
did in some ways.
I was fixing to say
Yeah,
he's returned to.
Terminator films. I think it was the abandoned Conan movie that they were going to do at some point, but then they got scrapped.
I'm actually sad that didn't happen. That's like one character I would have liked to
Yeah,
seen him return
because
as.
they came out with a poster and they were shooting, but then it got canned. That would have been interesting because when I saw the poster with that, it's just like, whoa, okay, this is gonna be interesting. We never heard any more about it, and they just canned it.
What's interesting is Arnold kind of pursued this project because it's
Hmm.
a loose remake of a French comedy.
Yeah, because his brother-in-law shared it with him.
And he showed it to Cameron, and because I guess, he was wanting a hit, he's like, well, let me get back with James because, we did like one of the biggest movies of all time.
Yes.
And I think that's why this movie got greenlit because I'm watching this movie and I'm like, apparently this is like one of the first films that cost over $100 million. And
Yeah.
I'm like, why did this cost so much? And they would never let this movie get made today. But at that time, they're
No.
like, well, it's James Cameron, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. They did T2. I mean,
Yeah. Why not?
surely it's.
You get this magnificent combination of actor director, and then you get a bunch of amazing actors in this film. With
I'm.
yeah, just like
Yeah.
amazing, great actors, and it just makes the movie gold. Now, granted, like you said before, it's not one of Cameron's best films, but it's still a solid film.
Yeah, and I like that Arnold knew it was a good project for him
Mm.
because he wanted to do something with spy and espionage, and Arnold's actually pretty good at comedy. Like,
He
I
is.
mean, that's another thing he's better at than Stallone, even though they had a rivalry for so long. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, Stallone was pretty funny in the Suicide Squad as the voice of King Shark, but generally when he tried to do a comedy, it didn't work.
Yeah, the only comedy I could think of that was really good was Oscar. Oscar was one of these like underdog films that was done very well, or like Oscar was very good, or you know, Stop or My Mother Will Shoot.
Oh,
Like
funny
yeah.
story about that one is Arnold basically played a joke on Stallone, like acted like he was gonna be in this movie and he was gonna get it, and it caused Stallone to snatch it up from under
Oh
him.
yeah, that's right. It's like, yeah, come on, Matt, come on. Be like, yeah, I'm gonna get this role and be great. It's like, oh no, be like, I'm gonna take it. It's two people goading each other on, and it's good when you get be like I know Stallone's really really good in this performance, so I'm gonna goad him into doing it, and so he did it, and he did it.
What I find kind of, even though this movie is entertaining and enjoyable, the
Mhm.
premise is preposterous. It's ridiculous
It is.
because Arnold cannot pass as a normal 9 to 5 guy.
No.
This is also the issue with Total Recall. Like, it is no surprise to us when he knows how to kill someone. Like, of course, Arnold knows how to
Of
kill
course.
someone in a fight. Like, I'm not shocked. So,
No,
like,
it's the product with 80s and 90s action films because your main hero knows how to use every weapon. He knows like all combat and martial arts or whatever. And it's the superhero who can't do be like is sufficient in everything. Look at Commando, that movie. And just those little like the character can do nothing wrong when it comes to like action and can just dispatch a villain so easily it's not even funny.
yeah, I love Commando though. That's
Mm,
like perfect 80s cheese. I mean,
it
the
is.
movie opens with the man carrying a tree across his
Yes.
arms.
Oddly enough, like staying on Commando for a second, there was actually more. They recently learned that the female wrote I can't talk tonight, but the female love interest in the movie, there was supposed to be a love scene while they were in flight to go get his daughter, but they cut it or they cut it out of the script because it was an African American woman and a white male, and so they cut it because that would be too provocative or it didn't fit in with the social norms of the time. But that
Mm.
would have been great if they would have done that. Just take a chance, do something different, and just make it happen. But they never did. So you
Well,
live and learn, right?
let me segue back to the movie with
Of
that. With
course.
apparently Arnold did not want Jamie Lee Curtis as the co-lead in this, and
I didn't know that.
Cameron was like, she's the one. Like, there's like apparently they auditioned other actors. Jodie Foster apparently was considered, who's even younger than Jamie Lee
Wow.
Curtis. Which, here's another thing. Do you want to know how old Jamie Lee Curtis was when this movie came out?
No.
36. And
36.
at the beginning of this movie, they try to make her look all frumpy and like middle
Yeah.
aged, and it's like she's younger than I am now, like in that movie.
Yeah, because
Like,
Arnold was like he was 45 when he did this film.
mm-hmm. But eventually, I guess, Arnold was professional and courteous,
Mm-hmm.
and they got along, and even to the point that he was like, yeah, she deserves billing before the title of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that this movie is actually about them and their
It
relationship. Like,
is.
the whole terrorist stuff is like a subplot
It
within the
is.
movie. Like, it's really about their marriage.
It is.
Because we
And
spend like what, 45 minutes with him spying on her and all that.
yeah, it's so well done.
And
Uh,
then he decides, instead of he's like, no, she wants to be a spy, we'll bring her in. And then she gets accidentally involved with his stuff, and then
yeah, the minor story crosses in with the major story. And like this movie, like watching it originally as a kid, it's like, man, this is a cool action movie. But as an adult now, you see the relationship, the dwindling relationship between this man and woman, who their whole existence has been a lie because he's trying to protect the world. And a barking audience.
yeah, my dog is informing me that there's probably cars or another dog walking by.
Okay.
That, or he has thoughts on True Lies that I can't decipher.
Okay.
Not sure. He's really staring out that window at
I got to
something.
get that squirrel, man. I got to get that squirrel. It's a matter of state security. I got to get that squirrel, man.
But I know Titanic probably deserves to be ranked a bit higher than this movie because
Mm,
of its legacy and what it did with cinema, and also, like,
mhm.
we don't have movies that stay that popular that long anymore.
No.
So it's kind of a phenomenon in itself, but I would
Mhm.
argue that the love story between Arnold and Jamie Lee Curtis is stronger than the one in Titanic. I know you
to what
haven't seen the movie, but
no,
I would.
I haven't seen it, but what I understand, just definitely from this film, it is a bunch the relationship between Curtis and Schwarzenegger's characters is so fractured, and they're trying to put on this appearance that everything's fine, and it's a marriage that's on the rocks. And when Arnold believes that his wife is cheating on him, and the my gosh, oh
Can we go
gosh,
on a Bill Paxton side tangent for a
oh my
moment?
gosh, Bill Paxton. Oh my gosh, I love Bill Paxton as a actor. He was such an amazing actor. God bless his soul. But oh my gosh, his like apparently he's one of James Cameron's go-to guys in like the 80s and 90s.
Right.
Like everything he pops up in.
He pops up in Terminator briefly as one of the guys Arnold
Mm-hmm.
disposes at the end. Of course, Hudson and Aliens. He's
Mm-hmm.
memorable.
Oh
He's
yeah.
in Titanic. He even popped in one of Cameron's documentaries he did where he goes to the bottom of the ocean or whatever.
Oh yeah, he did. That's right.
And yeah, he's in this. And Paxton is hilarious. And also, he's
Oh
just
yeah.
so good at playing dweebs and like
Exactly.
scuzzy people. He's so scuzzy and so great.
Yeah. His performance is gold in this movie. Like I think like every film I've ever seen Bill Paxton in, I think Twister or something like that. He's gold. He was such a good actor, and just like definitely in this film, be like he plays this guy who be like he is trying to lure Curtis's character into being his fling, and it's just like it's so hilarious because you see it. You'd be like obviously from the audience perspective, and you're seeing it's like, man, this guy is playing her like a harp. But it should be like obviously for Curtis's character, it's more like I need adventure, I need something wild, and it's like like I freaking did it is one of those things where my husband is never around. Be like I never get anything from him except a kiss in the cheek, and we lie in bed at night, and there's no chemistry between us anymore. I need something in my life that is going to make me feel happy. And then ultimately she gets it.
Right. Like I don't think she's looking to cheat on him. I think she's
No.
just bored. She's having, I'm stuck in the monotony of adulthood and my husband's
Mm-hmm.
not here and my daughter is a teenager now and
Mm-hmm.
like, you get and it's interesting that Cameron decided to make this movie, Cameron legend for being divorced a lot of times. So I
Mm.
guess he knows a thing or two about marriages on the rocks. I'm sure
Right.
part of it has to do with his personality. But it's it's funny that he brought on a team of screenwriters and then was like, no, I can do it myself. Again,
Mm.
Cameron fashion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think her character, like you said, she just wants something to disrupt the monotonous of her
Mm-hmm.
life. And he loves her, but of course he has the same issue that so many men have. They're like, of course my wife loves me and blah blah blah, and I'm perfect. And then when he thinks something's wrong, he's mad. Which it's granted, yes, you should be mad, but
Yeah.
like I think Tom Arnold puts it
Yes.
perfectly, which
Yeah.
this might be the only time in history that anyone liked Tom Arnold as an actor and as a human being. Well,
Mm.
maybe just as an actor, maybe not as a
Yeah.
human being.
Yeah.
Which Cameron had to fight the studio. The studio did not want
No, they
Tom
didn't.
Arnold in this movie because of the whole Roseanne stuff.
Yeah, because all the stunts they pulled,
Mm,
prior to this film, they're like, no, we don't want to touch this with the 10-foot pole. Forget it. But Cameron be like he was persistent. It was like, no, I'd be like, I want Tom Arnold in this film. He is be like in this role, he's perfect for it. And the stories we hear later that it's like the uh the uh the ice trays out of the ice of the ice tray story. It's like apparently when Roseanne Barr divorced him and left, like took the ice out of the ice trays when she left. And so um when he told that to Cameron, he laughed out loud and said, "That's a good story. Let's put it in the script." And that's what happened. And I found that hysterical.
Yeah, we you can argue that Tom Arnold might have married Roseanne to get famous, and then
Oh yeah, probably.
had their whole issues. And look, I don't really like Tom Arnold, but he works in this movie,
He does.
and that's probably partly due to Cameron's direction and writing, and also apparently him and Arnold had chemistry. I think that was
Hmm.
part of the reason why Cameron wanted to cast him, was because of their chemistry on screen.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things when you see two actors who do like Cameron and Schwarzenegger, just their chemistry was amazing. Definitely with Schwarzenegger and Arnold were like just fit perfectly. Be like you had like comedy duo, great. I wish they would have done more films together, but it never happened. But it's just like they just kind of played up because Schwarzenegger played this kind of the straight man who could do a little comedy, and then you have Arnold who just did be like just gave every little cheesy line and just brought the context in what was going on even funnier.
Yeah, and I don't know if like his comedy would work in a movie today, but 1994, different
Exactly.
time, different time. And I still laughed when like he's like, "You can't do this. You're using the government's money to spy on your wife." And he's like, "Well, what if I go?" He's like, I'm clean." He's like, "What about about that? Oh, you should take this route. We'll get there
Yeah, yeah,
fast."
yeah. This is faster. That was hysterical.
So I mean, it's a fun movie. I
It
like
is.
that it's about a marriage overall. It's got great action set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
We get
And a nice blend of comedy all over it.
Charlton Heston as their boss, who I
Oh,
guess
that
is
was good.
basically a version of Nick Fury,
Yeah.
which apparently he wore the eye patch because he had pink eye when he came on set.
That is funny, but it now makes more sense.
And I didn't realize this. I didn't remember this till I watched it yesterday. It says they work for Omega something, which
Omega
is
section.
Omega section,
The last front of defense.
which is interesting because Charlton Heston was the Omega Man.
Really?
Yeah, it's a 70s cheesy 70s movie based on I Am Legend.
Really?
Mhm. Yeah, it's not
Interesting.
bad.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of fun. I've never seen the Vincent Price version, but everyone says that's the best version, and that's called The Last Man on Earth.
Hmm. Unlike the Will Smith version.
I don't dislike the Will Smith version. It's just
Hmm.
that the story is they're vampires, and in that version, they seem more like zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's fun casting. He doesn't
Yeah.
do a lot there, but Charlton Heston, Hollywood royalty.
Yeah. Be like
Uh
if you had the opportunity to bring in Charlton Heston and he agreed to do it, yes, you would do that in 3 seconds. It like you're bringing in an actor who is known for his stellar performances in the past, and be like, it's like, oh, we got this bit role. Why don't we just give it to Charlton Heston? Of course, you're going to give it to him.
yeah, and I like actors that acknowledge like I'll just take a good part. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to be the leading man anymore. Because you do see some actors that in their older years like turn stuff down because they still want to be a leading man, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes just take a good part, like
Yeah.
it's a job. Like yeah, Arnold's not trying to headline action movies anymore, even though he keeps coming back to the Terminator franchise. Like he's not like the lead anymore. He's like
No, he's more support. He's supporting in second fiddle. But be like all his performances, what I've seen and what I understand, are very good for his acting style.
I guess the other person we can highlight, and that's how we know it's a 90s movie, is
Mhm.
Tia Carrera's in this movie. That's how you
Oh,
know it's in the
mhm.
90s,
Yeah,
which she's fun. I guess she didn't really go very far, stayed mostly in television because I guess besides this and Wayne's World and
mhm.
Lilo and Stitch, she didn't
Oh,
do a.
Lilo and Stitch. Love that
Yeah,
movie.
she's the
Love it.
older sister.
Yeah, that's right. She is. That's right.
Yeah.
That's what I'd be like for me, like, review animated movies, be like, I love Lilo and Stitch. That was a great movie when it came out. And a part of me wants the live action movie that's coming out, I think next year, to be really, really good. But that's just me hoping.
Yeah, I don't have high hopes because I'm not a big fan of most of the Disney live action
Fair.
remakes. The director they did get to do it is an interesting one, but that doesn't guarantee it's going to be a good movie. But
True.
but
Yeah.
they did that Marcel the Shell movie that just came out.
Oh, okay. That's
So
right. I did read that.
so that's interesting. But yeah, that's how you know we're in the 90s because
Mhm.
Tia Carrere's in it, but
Yeah.
she's having fun playing a bad baddie.
Yeah. And it's a good diversion, like who the real villain is. It's like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, she's the antique dealer who's actually working for the big bad guy. And the villain there again, it's a very common stereotype of someone who's from an Arab country. And there again, it wouldn't fly today, obviously.
Yeah,
But
that's the main issue with this movie is it's very Islamophobic,
mhm,
especially, how they're viewed in this movie. But I mean, everything else in this movie is great. Like
yeah,
I want more action movies like this minus the racism, you know.
fair.
But I don't think it's intentional with Cameron or anything. I
No,
think
it's not.
it's just a product of its time, a
Exactly.
product of ignorance and not thinking. I mean, this is part of the reason why there's never been a sequel is like Cameron's like, I don't think I could make a fun movie like this in a post 9/11 world. Like,
That is true.
so that's
Because yeah, because the idea of like doing another one with the because when 9/11 happened to be like, and then it's just more like, this mindset and this, very uh racist viewpoint towards people of arab uh Arab countries, where it's just more like, oh, these people are just, so and so and so and so, which wasn't true. There was only like a handful of these people who actually did something wicked and evil. And be like, my heart went up for people like that. It's just like, man, because it was sad. But in this movie, definitely during the 90s, there were a lot of terroristic ideas coming out of the Middle East. And so it was kind of be like, okay, we can play into that. But we couldn't do that. We couldn't do that in the 21st century we live in now.
no, we couldn't. And I don't know, but that's the issue with the movie, but that's you have to say that with so many older movies though, and we might have to say that with movies today in 20, 30 years, That's
I
that's
agree.
part of progressing and growing as a not just an individual, but as a society.
Yeah. Yeah, it's looking at the movie from the perspective it was made in, and realizing, like, okay, they could have done this different, could have done this different, but taking the film as it is from the context of where it was from, obviously the mid 90s. And so, okay, I enjoy this film. There might be problems with this film, but I'm going to enjoy it all the same.
And the guy that plays the villain apparently loved working on the movie and has turned other action movies down because the scripts weren't as good. He also was in a James Bond movie, The Living Daylights, where he's an
Oh,
ally because
hmm.
another product of its time where the Afghans are allies to the British
Mm-hmm.
because that was during the time period we were supplying them with weapons to fight the
That is true. The
Russians.
80s. Mm-hmm.
So,
Reagan error.
yep.
Ba-ba-bum.
But is there certain scenes or certain action set pieces you want to talk about or highlight
Uh,
that
the I would say when the realization that the two worlds have now collided, where um, Harry has found out that he is a spy, or the two plot the two the main plot and the minor plots converge in the hotel is when
Right.
they bust in there for, it's like, how did they know where he was? It's like,
Right.
I'd be like, it's like, oh, they were tracking him in some kind of capacity or form, but it's funny they just bust in and here these two worlds collide, and he's be like, he can't get his way out of it. He can't, just break, start breaking necks, but he's forced to be like, I'm a spy. I'm a spy. This is what I do. I've been lying to you my entire life. And when those two worlds collide, I find that very interesting. When they get onto the one of the Key West Islands, and they're talking over it, and they're seeing this this terroristic threat becoming a realization, and she starts to realize who she really married, not this man who just is a rep for a computer company back in 1994.
Yeah, no computer rep looks like Arnold. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, he looks like a guy who definitely sells computers. He's not the respectable guy with overalls. And it's like, well, you see here, that kind of guy. But Arnold doesn't play that kind of character. But it's funny that they made his character a computer salesman. I find that hysterical.
Speaking of, I do love that scene where they give him the truth serum, and he's telling that guy, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna use you as a human shield. I'm gonna throw that at that guy, and then I'm gonna snap your neck."
That was great. Or the scene just before that, Helen's asking, be like, "Have you ever killed anybody?" It's like, yeah, but they were all bad. And like, Arnold can play comedy. What, like, given the right script, he can do it very well. And in this, it's like, it's absolutely hysterical watching him do this, when kind of he's playing it straight, but it's actually comedy, and it's done very well. And like everything after that, it's just gold.
This movie totes the line where it could almost be satire, but it is a legit spy action movie. It just has comedy. It's kind of in the same vein of like, well, it's not quite as meta like Scream, but it's in the same vein as it's a horror movie, but it's like a comedy too. Like, it's kind of poking fun at this genre, but in a loving way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just it's taking what had been done in the past and just updating it, but at the same time kind of homaging and poking fun at it, but not we're not gonna lampoon you like Hot Shots or Hot Shots do or something like that. We're gonna be respectful of the material, but we're still gonna have fun with it.
Which the mall sequence is really cool too.
It is.
And apparently Arnold fell off the horse and the stuntman caught him.
Yeah, from dropping like 30 feet. And I was like, whoa.
Which, no, I don't really. You can read about it, but, one of the well, actually, he was in charge of the stunts, did an atrocious, terrible thing to a young actress.
That was terrible. I learned about that, I think, a couple of, like, early this year. I heard that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel terrible for her.
I feel like she just, I can't remember, but I don't think it's been more than 10 years ago that, like, she, like, opened up about this happening.
Yeah.
It may have been around the Me Too time or prior, but that's atrocious, especially at such a young age. And, I didn't even know it was Elijah Dushka till later, because I didn't know who Elijah Dushka was till Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay.
Yeah, because she had a reoccurring role on that show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
I didn't watch a whole lot of Buffy. I've watched more recently in my adulthood, because I had a lot of friends who were like, oh my gosh, Buffy's the greatest, and it's like I'll get around to watching it. It's like I haven't watched all the Marvel television shows and all the Marvel films yet, because I just haven't got around to it yet.
Gotta catch up, Jacob. That's a lot of homework with Marvel.
I'm one of those guys be like, I'm gonna watch a film or a TV show when I feel the leisure to, and not just because, oh, it's the popular thing to do and I gotta watch it right now, because if I don't, I'm gonna be behind the times. It's like, it took me, I think, a year to watch The Mandalorian and then Mandalorian season 2, and they're both great seasons. I just didn't want to be like, I've got to watch it now because if I don't, be like, people are going to spoil it for me. Eh,
That's a
I'll,
good.
I'll go ahead.
I said that's a good attitude to have about spoiling, because I think that's why a lot of people go and watch this stuff, is because they don't
Mhm.
want to
They
get
they want to get
spoiled.
spoiled.
Or,
Uh,
I mean, you could just stay off social media, but also people could not spoil things on social media.
that
Like,
is
you could
true.
just be nice and not
Yeah,
do
but
it.
people don't do that.
Now,
It,
granted, in these most of our chats, we are spoiler warning, and I don't even give one, because I'm like, most of the movies I'm discussing are like decades old. And granted, there are people who probably haven't seen them,
hmm
but I feel like the nature of these type of shows is if you don't want to be spoiled on an old movie, then go
hmm
watch it first and then come and listen to the
Yeah,
discussion about it.
exactly.
Because there's not anything in most, there's always a few movies, but like, I knew about the Psycho scene before I saw it, but it didn't ruin the
hmm
movie for me.
Fantastic film.
Like, I knew, there's the shower scene. So, but
hmm
I know an audience in 1960, they were probably like, "Oh my god," because it probably seems like it's Janet Leigh's movie for the first 30 minutes, and then,
hmm And one of the
but
one of the odd things about that film because it's one of the first films that showed a toilet or showed like a couple actually in a bed, not a separate two separate beds, but
that's
one bed.
probably
It was
true.
so controversial at that time. Now it's
Yeah,
realized, oh, that's common.
and that's still in I believe that's still in the Hays Code era. I believe that's still before the MPAA is established.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
Because that's the whole reason you don't see a lot of things in older movies, is because they
hmm
had this strict guideline of rules of what could be seen and shown.
True.
And that's usually why in old movies it'll pan to like a curtain, or they'll
hmm
fade to black. Like the famous one I think of is in Double Indemnity. Like they're kissing or hugging really intensely, and then the
hmm
camera pans, and then it comes back to them like sitting on the couch, and he's smoking a
Oh,
cigarette, and
yeah,
you're like, so you know what they did, but we didn't show it because we couldn't.
yeah, but also that's really good directorial positioning because when you have a limiter where you can't do something, but you use the you use artistic talent or sleight of hand or somebody to suggest something happen, it makes it more impactful, makes it more memorable. Instead of be like, oh, let's just show the entire scene. No, let's allude to it. Let's make give artistic illusion to it, and then give the audience what they be like they want, but you don't show them. You just tell them, hey, this happened, because they do that in comics back then, and like yeah, everything. But it was just
Well, there was also a code with comics for a long time too,
yeah,
and
there was, and
that's
it was
why they got rid of the
super
EC
effective.
comics, and
Mhm,
that's why, like, they had to show, like, Batman doing positive things or stuff happening in the middle of the daytime or something. And,
mhm,
like, and I agree. I think sometimes you get great art when you have to be creative with your
mhm.
limitations. And maybe, and I'm not saying, because I've liked most of James Cameron's work, maybe he could use some limitations and see what he could do instead of getting like infinite blank checks for the rest of his life. But I mean, he's made two movies that have made over $1 billion.
Yeah,
Like, he
it's
just
like
keeps topping himself as far as
mhm,
financial hits.
yeah. And now he's on his Avatar groove where he won't do anything directorial. Be like he'll help produce but no,
What
I gotta do my movie. Be like, this is the only thing I gotta do. I gotta do my movie, and it's Avatar.
which before we get into that, because I do want to talk about that a little bit, because that was the reason I kind of wanted to try and do this now, because they
Yeah.
have re-released Avatar into theaters this
hmm
weekend.
Yes.
And I am guessing that is a marketing ploy, because it has
hmm
been so long since the first Avatar came
Uh huh.
out, that I
Yeah.
think they're trying to gear up some anticipation for the sequel.
Yeah, and
because a lot.
they also pulled it from Disney Plus because they wanted to get people back in the theater to go watch it, which I can't blame them for that.
Yeah, because I do think there is a little worry. And
There is.
before we get into this whole discussion, is there anything else about True Lies you wanted to bring up or something we forgot to talk about?
True Lies is one of those gems, like you said before. It's not the pinnacle of Cameron's filmography, but it's one of those good films you can watch and you can deep dive into. But it's still one of those movies you can have fun with, and it's gonna be a fun action movie. Be like, some people may not like it because it's not sensitive to these things, but if you just want to watch a good film, this is a good movie to watch.
It's a fun, entertaining action comedy. You've got a director and a movie star. Well, you got a movie star probably at the end of his reign, but still at the top of his game.
Mm-hmm.
You've got one of the best actors working alive, and Jamie Lee Curtis. You know, a lot of people talk about how Cameron's difficult to work with. He's an egomaniac. But apparently, this is one of the best experiences Jamie Lee Curtis has had professionally. But also, Sigourney Weaver, like, always defends James Cameron. Like,
Yeah.
she's like, that's why she's showing up in the next Avatar. So I guess some people have good working relationships with him.
Yeah.
But it's also because of where their status is as an actor, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he can't probably act the way he does with other people because they're like, I'm not putting up with that, sir.
Mm-hmm. And
But
I don't know,
yeah,
like he may have mellowed out as he's gotten older as a director, and because people do that. People do
well,
that
he
all the
hadn't
time.
mellowed out by Titanic because they tried to fire him,
Yeah, that's
and
true. They did.
then they realized it would cost more money to bring a different director in, and one
Yeah.
of the crew people tried to poison him with PCP.
What? I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
there was a crew member who put like PCP in the soup, like for craft services, and a bunch
Oh
of people had to go to
yeah.
the emergency room.
Oh yeah. That's like, that was a dumb move.
He was trying to poison Cameron because Cameron was like being very
Different.
dictatory on the set
Mm-hmm.
and not
Yeah.
treating his crew well.
Yeah. It's
But
more be like, I want to do the movie. I want to do it right. Why are you not listening to me? Kind of thing.
but
But
I'm glad we're getting out of the era where we're excusing bad behavior now.
yeah,
Like
agreed.
they used to be like, "Oh, well they're so talented. Oh, they're a genius." Like,
Oh yeah.
but the work speaks for it. It's like, no, it doesn't. And so I hope he has mellowed out because, look at what happened to Josh Whedon. Like, there are consequences to your
Yeah,
actions.
agreed.
Like, the
Agreed.
stuff Stanley Kubrick used to do is not going to fly anymore. It doesn't matter how good
No.
of a director you are. And that should be how it be. You need to treat people kindly and respectfully and
Mhm.
nice. Like, because everyone's there doing a job.
Mhm.
Even though you're the director, it may be your vision, but it doesn't come through without all these other people doing the job.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like it's a ship is not piloted by just a single person. It's helmed by an entire crew.
But yeah,
And
this
so yeah,
movie's.
but
Oh, sorry, I interrupted
no, no,
you.
it'd be like, it's if your captain is unruly, it'd be like, yeah, you're gonna get mutiny, and you're not gonna have a good movie. You're not gonna have a good time. But I do agree. I do agree that we should hold people accountable to a higher standard, and not, you can't treat people like crap. You can't treat people with disrespect. Um, and that's a good thing, because we're holding people accountable for what they do as a professional.
I mean, I think we still got a long way to go, especially in Hollywood. But I
Mhm.
think there are steps, and we are seeing like that. There are people. Doesn't matter how famous they are or how talented they are. Like, if you're a horrible person, mm, you could stop working, or at least not have the status you once did because of your actions.
Yeah, I would say that if it was more, it's like, hey, this person has a problem. Hey, let's get him into therapy. I don't believe in the idea of canceling people as from directorial whatever, but get them in the counseling. See if they can work on this problem. If they can't work on it, be like, you might want to find something else to do. That's just my opinion.
But yeah, this movie is a time capsule of its
Mm-hmm.
era,
It is.
based on the people who are in it and its
Mm-hmm.
subject matter. But I think it's a very nice, entertaining, enjoyable film that's really about a relationship and
It is.
like how do you make a marriage last and work when your husband is a spy?
Mm-hmm.
So so yeah, Avatar 2 is coming out in December.
Yes.
And I think some people are very excited because it's a new James Cameron movie. And there are
Mm.
people who really love Avatar. They think it's a masterpiece. And it is technically one of the best films, not one of the best films ever made, but one of the best looking films ever made.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
When you push CGI to that extent and it's fully computer graphic minus like your real actors or what have you, be like it's cinematic eye candy to its max, and it's beautifully well done. It's a great movie. It's just like what I remember, because I haven't seen Avatar since theaters, because all I remember is like I remember seeing this story before, just in other formats, in other movies, just done differently.
so I think there is a mix of anticipation and worry. And
Yeah.
I think the worry is because it's been so long. Like, are people even gonna care? And I say this because it's one of those movies, it made a lot of money.
Hmm.
It caused this whole 3D thing for a while
Yeah.
when really it should only be used if the movie's shot in 3D like
Mm.
Avatar.
Agreed. There's a lot
But
of problems with those.
but it's kind of like a movie that's slightly forgotten. Like, it's not forgotten, like no one knows. If I said Avatar, people would sort of know what I'm talking about, but I guarantee you, and there might be some circumstances where it's different, but if I showed a younger person, a Gen Z person, an image of Titanic and an image of Avatar, I bet you they would recognize Titanic more than Avatar.
Probably. Well, unless they
Because
went to Disney World.
yeah,
Oh yeah, we're
I'm
gonna
like,
stuff from Disney World.
I'm not saying like Avatar is completely zero of pop culture. I'm just saying
No.
that I think more people know Titanic because it has this it has something a little bit more in there that made it like everlasting.
Yeah, agreed.
Whereas
Completely agree with that.
Avatar is not quite there, but I'm not counting against Cameron because I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, what if no one comes?" And I think that's the issue because that's kind of what they
Mm.
were like, "What is this with the first Avatar?" I think people are just going to go just to see it, and it's going to end up being a hit because people just want to go see it
Yeah.
just to see like what it's all about.
Hmm.
Uh I'm going to see it. I am not anticipating it to be anything other than probably an entertaining movie. If it's more than
Hmm.
that, great. I really wish Cameron would do something else with his time. I
Yes.
don't I don't really want to see 4 more of these movies, like, but whatever. It's also kind of weird that he's only directed 2 movies in this century and they're both Avatar movies.
There again, he's been obsessed with this this project of his.
Well, I mean, he also spent a good chunk of time just exploring the ocean.
Yeah, he did. That's one of his like
That
loves is doing
like
going back to Titanic
yeah. Yeah, and the Abyss. Like
and the Abyss,
it's
which I
there.
still need to
And
watch.
he also ended up directing Piranha 2 when he wasn't supposed to because they fired the
Oh yeah.
initial director.
Hmm.
And that
Yeah,
movie is garbage, but the underwater sequences look great. And I wonder if that's all the stuff Cameron shot was the underwater stuff.
possibly.
Is like bad. And
He's good with water scenes. I know that.
And there's going to be a lot of water stuff in Avatar, but what do you feel about this new Avatar movie? Like,
I if if a movie if you have a movie like Avatar 2, Way of the Water, if
yeah,
that's
I
the
think
title
that's
of
the
it.
title of it.
So the idea, if a sequel can't match up to its predecessor, because like Avatar blew everything out of the water, like one of the first $1 billion films. And so if this film doesn't match it or come extremely close, it'll be considered a failure to a lot of people. Now, there could be people that said, I love the film, I watched it 30 times, but there's this level of expectation, because I don't know if Cameron's seeing this, because I think of like Spider-Man 2. Because Spider-Man 2 was such a phenomenal film and broke box office with that film. And then you get other films where it's just like, oh, okay, you make this great film, the second one does okay, and then it's just like, nope, we canceled it, it's done. So I
Interesting you
think
bring up Spider-Man, because that he was developing a Spider-Man adaptation before he
he
went on to
was
make this movie,
he
and the
did.
rights or cost, or so there was some sort of legality issue that he moved on to
Mhm.
this movie. So that's interesting. And
Yeah.
Arnold was considered for Dr. Octopus at one time in one of the scripts, but I think the final
Oh my
script
gosh.
was Sandman and Electro, which was going to be Lance Hendrickson and Michael Biehn
Huh.
was who he wanted. Yeah. But
That is
yeah, it's
interesting.
got a high bar, and you're right. Like, if it doesn't come close to the first Avatar's financial success, it's going to be
Mhm.
deemed a failure, even if it makes like a truckload of money. They're going to like, well, it
Mhm.
didn't make $1 billion. Yeah.
Or they'll, or as they do now, it's like, if it doesn't do well in its opening weekend, it'll be considered a failure.
Exactly.
And I think Disney isn't going to be, because you have James Cameron, you have Avatar, two very big powerhouse movies and a director. But if the movie does not make this certain percentage, and if it doesn't get this kind of reviews or high praise, they'll can it. Be like,
Yeah.
it'll be in theaters, it'll get its run, and they will can 3 and 4, or they'll do a like direct to Disney Plus thing.
I think 3 is gonna happen regardless of how 2 does, but if 2
Mm,
doesn't do a hit, I don't think 4 or 5 are gonna happen.
yeah,
And I don't
I
think
was go ahead.
he's directing 4 or 5 either, which I
Hmm.
don't even know if I wanna see an Avatar movie not directed by James Cameron. Like, that's, like, the
True.
only reason I'm kind of slightly still like, "Okay, I guess I'll check it out," because like, he's still involved, like.
Hmm. Yeah, just to see what the man does in this film as a director, I'm interested in. But I'm more afraid this film is not going to do well. It's not going to financially do well. I'll be like, yeah, it'll make money. Don't get me wrong, but it's not going to make the money that Avatar did. And so, Disney executives or the powers that be are gonna be like, this isn't really worth it. Sorry, Cameron. Be like, you did your best. We might do 3. It might go to Disney Plus, and that'll be it. That's my general concern about Avatar 2. It looks good. It looks like a good film, but if it doesn't match up to what Avatar did, it's doomed.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's gonna have the issue, because some people are like, "Is it gonna get Oscar noms because the first one did?" It could have an
Mm.
issue where they're like, "Well, it's kinda the same thing again," so
Yeah.
no.
Yeah,
So,
because
like,
do we know anything about the script or anything? Or is
all
that
I
so locked
know,
up?
I don't know much other than, like, it's dealing with another section of the planet, and,
Mm,
like, Kate Winslet is in it and some other actors who weren't in the first one, and
mm.
but a lot of the actors are returning. Apparently, Sigourney Weaver is going to be playing Sully and Zoe Saldana's character's daughter. But yeah,
Okay.
I don't know much about the plot, and that's
Okay.
probably they probably don't want us to know much about it till it comes
No.
out.
Well, I can see where if here's when if they do an early review or they just be like, oh, you're gonna watch it when it premieres, because if they do that, they're scared. They're scared the film won't do well. So if they do a preview, they have confidence in the film. But if they
Right.
don't do a preview to it, their confidence is shaken.
Yeah,
Well, just to see if they're gonna do.
you're always worried when reviews are not like able to be published before the movie comes out. Like, oh, critics
Exactly.
can't see the movie till it premieres. And then you're like, oh, they don't, which is silly because I don't think general audiences care what critics think, you know.
True. But some do.
Some do, some do, and for smaller movies, I think that's more of a thing. A movie like Avatar, people are going to go see it or not see it
Yeah. Just based on the
because
hype of it.
right. I mean, like nobody's like, oh well, I'm not gonna go see this Marvel movie because it got bad reviews. But they might now say, be like, well, I guess until it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, just wait a month or two. It'll be on Disney Plus. I don't have to worry about it.
But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I
Mhm.
say that could happen, but don't ever bet against Cameron because people have tried his whole career and
Yeah, agreed.
he keeps coming out of that pile of doo doo smelling like a bunch of
Like a
roses.
rose.
Like
Yeah,
everyone thought Titanic was going to be a flop. It was the
that's
biggest
true.
movie
They
of all
did.
time. Everyone thought
Hmm.
Avatar was going to be a flop. Was the biggest movie of all time.
Hmm.
I'm not saying
Yeah,
Avatar 2 is going to be the biggest movie of all time, but don't be
true.
surprised if it makes like I don't know, half a billion at the box
Yeah,
office.
that's like yeah. Be like you look at like the modern blockbuster. Be like yeah, you just get because when Avatar came out, it was $1 billion film because had done something revolutionary cinematic wise, and then it just set that bar. It's like, can you beat what we did? And then the Disney movies came along and just went chop, 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 went up and up and up and up. And I agree with you when they're trying to put Avatar, the original movie, back in theaters to get hype for this next movie and bring back more of that nostalgia and probably rack in another, $10 million or $100 million, whatever, for
Well,
ticket
did
sales.
did they purposely re-release it internationally just so they could be Endgame?
Yeah, probably because it'd be
Well,
like they're again, it's the same studio doing it, so they're basically competing against themselves now,
yeah,
which
because
I find
Disney owns
funny.
Avatar now because they
Yeah,
bought
they own
Fox.
Avatar.
Which I think had these movies not already been in the works, I think Disney might have shelved them. Like
Oh,
think that I think the only reason they're like, well, we're stuck with this because Fox greenlit all this.
and it's Cameron and it's Avatar.
So
That's the only reason these movies have gone through so far because Disney can so many things, and there's other projects that have been greenlit by other studios. I think there was a animated movie that Illumination, which was be like that Disney had bought, and so that film was finally coming out through another studio because Disney just be like, nope, done with it, dropped it because they dropped Illumination and just yeah, Illumination was pretty good as a studio. They weren't the best, but they put out some pretty good stuff every once in a while.
every once in a while, I'm not a huge fan of their animation style.
Yeah, agreed. But
Granted,
every once in a while, they would strike gold with something.
they don't have the budget that Disney has, and they don't have
No,
the quality storytelling that usually like Ghibli has.
yeah, I think I think it's like some movies be like we're gonna play it safe. We're gonna play it like Illumination does that. Illumination does that all the
Mhm.
time, and then
But I
this
mean, they
company
make a ton of money
they make a ton of
usually.
money because they're doing safe films. They're not trying to push the boundary of storytelling or animation. We're just going to do a movie that is done very well and people are going to like. That's it.
Also, I think their movies skew more a younger audience, so that
They
also
do.
might be why I'm like, these are okay.
Yeah, because
Not that I have anything against animated films or movies geared towards children, but you have
mhm.
to admit that usually a Pixar or a Ghibli, they have something in there for audiences that aren't
It's
5 to
it's
10
for
years old.
yeah, it's for like if you look at like Pixar films for the most part, they have they have the comedy for the kids, then they have the comedy goes over the kids' heads, and the adults are like, oh my gosh, that is funny. And their kid asks, they're like, what does that mean? I'll tell you when you're 10 years old, son.
But they
Kind of
don't
thing.
do the DreamWorks thing that it's in the Shrek movies where they're, like,
No,
putting, like, direct, like, adult humor in a kid's movie, like,
that
it's
is
not.
true. It's not so it's not be like so in your face kind of thing. Because be like, yeah, because like you have certain studios who do certain things, but like um uh Pixar does things that kind of appeal to both adult and children audiences, and they do it to where they tell very dynamic stories. And Illumination does, hey, we're going to be safe. Hey, we're just going to do this, and we're going to make a crap ton of money doing it. And
Yeah.
DreamWorks does, they do really good storytelling, and they do kind of okay storytelling. It's kind of yeah, because Blue Sky Studios is where the studio I was trying to say earlier instead of Illumination. Be
Yeah,
like,
they were Fox.
yeah,
Right.
they were a Fox animation studio, and that's the studio I was trying to refer to earlier instead of Illumination because Illumination's still around. But be like, yeah, they would do because we reviewed the one of the last films they did, and it was okay. It brought in some good talent, but it was
Is
just
that
kind of a bland movie.
is that Spies in Disguise?
Yeah,
Was that
Spies
it?
in the Skies. It was okay of a movie. It was passable, but it wasn't a great film.
Right. Uh, I think they're still working because I think that's where John Lasseter is now. 'Cause I think they did a
It's
movie that went to Apple TV. I can't remember.
oh luck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a different studio. I think it's that Blue Sky be like the studio that came out of that was the one who did Luck. That's where John
okay.
Lasseter is, I think.
Okay.
Now I could be completely wrong because I don't have notes or anything in front of me.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just knew. I thought it was if it's not Blue Sky, it came from Blue Sky. It was like a
Mm-hmm.
Blue Sky project, and then went to wherever it is now.
Yeah,
Anyways, Jacob, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for
thank you.
talking this movie with me. It's a lot of fun. I recommend anyone that is feeling nostalgic for either Arnold Schwarzenegger or you want to watch a Cameron movie in preparation for Avatar Way of the Water.
Mm-hmm.
Check out True Lies while it's on Hulu if you don't have your pan and scan DVD copy of it at home because yeah, getting a digital release of this movie is extremely hard. And I'm gonna say again, James Cameron, take a week and get us these transfers for The Abyss and True
Please.
Lies because it's ridiculous. That's
Yeah, 'cause
why physical media is important to me because one,
mhm,
I don't want to rely on an internet connection to watch a movie, and
mhm,
two, especially with the whole HBO Max debacle right now, you
mhm,
cannot guarantee something is going to stay on streaming. Even the movies you buy digitally, you
mhm.
cannot you cannot guarantee they're going to stay in your account. Like
Yeah,
they can take it out at any time.
agreed.
So that is why physical media is important if you love film because then
Mhm,
it's in your hands. You can watch it whenever you want. But
mhm,
yes, check it out. Even if you have a DVD copy, I recommend watching it on Hulu right now just because of the transfer is actually a
mhm.
really good transfer.
And it's crisp.
Eh,
It's just be like they made the movie actually very beautiful instead of be like, what is going on? Now, one of the things I forgot to talk about was I just wanted to do this little tangent because I realized that watching this because in this new HD format of this film, when Arnold is escaping from the party in the first of the film, where he's going downhill, obviously because it's a stunt double, and it's like it's so blaringly obviously not Schwarzenegger, and it's hysterical. I just
Yeah,
wanted to bring it up.
there are issues with HD transfers. You get to see things more clearly that you didn't
Yes,
see in film, but it still looks great,
it does.
and it's a fun trip down memory lane of the mid 90s.
Hmm.
It's a quality action film from a great director, and it's the last of the Arnold Schwarzenegger at the top of his game.
Hmm.
It's arguably one of Jamie Lee Curtis's best roles. We could argue there are other iconic films she's been in, but this is definitely, if we were building an Arnold and Jamie Lee Curtis Hall of Fame, this movie would be in both of their Hall of Fames, I
Agreed.
think. Maybe
Agreed.
not the James Cameron Hall of Fame, but that's also because he doesn't have as many movies to debate about put in. So
Oh, okay. So, a quick question. Ever since we're doing James Cameron's films, what is your favorite James Cameron film so far? That you've
uh
seen all of them so far?
I well, I've seen all of them, but Avatar 2 because it's not out yet.
Obviously.
On a personal note for me, just because it impacted me at such a young age. It was like the first R-rated movie I asked to watch. My parents let me watch it.
Hmm.
It is one of the greatest action movies ever made. I love it, and it actually is a little bit of an emotional movie for me, and that's Terminator 2. It just
Yes.
it's yeah. I guess I just watched it at a right time. There's like something about movies you watch, especially like between the ages of 10 and 14 for me, like
Hmm.
have such a impact on me for whatever reason. And it's probably because I was consuming so much media. Like I feel like we
Right.
consume a lot of media now, but I feel like it's more disposable to us as adults than it was to us as
Hmm.
children. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Agreed.
the movie holds up too. Like I don't even have it on Blu-ray. Like I have it on a DVD, but the DVD still looks great. Like those
It
effects
does.
still work 30 years later. But yeah, that would be my favorite. I mean, obviously Aliens is great.
Hmm.
I slightly prefer the original. The Abyss is his underrated masterpiece. I don't think it's his best film, but I could see why some people love that one the best because that's probably the most Cameron in a movie.
Yeah.
Um, and then Titanic, of course, is a juggernaut. It's not my
Hmm.
favorite, but I can see why people love that movie.
Hmm.
But I can't deny its power. Uh, but T2 is my favorite. But the
Hmm.
first Terminator is really solid too. Like that's probably the closest Cameron's ever made to making a horror movie.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, because he
Yeah.
took the aesthetics of a slasher film and just
Mm-hmm.
changed it to like, oh,
Hmm.
it's a robot, which makes more sense that would be a nonstop killing machine instead of just some oversized dude walking really slow.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah. Just
T2.
yeah, T2 is made for me as well. Because T2, like you said, be like you watched at the right time, at that right age, that it grabbed you and never let go. And it's an iconic film that Cameron did. Not like most of the films I've seen of Cameron, they're all good. But T2 Terminator 2 Judgment Day just is so well done as a film. It broke so many boundaries as a movie. Definitely came to special effects because ILM came in and did fantastic job with that film with the uh, uh, I'm forgetting words right now, but the sorry, words are failing me tonight. But the CGI in this film is done so well. It's so incredibly well done, and the story, like you said, this movie will choke you up with the relationship with the Terminator and John Carter, or not John Carter, John, what's his name?
Ah.
I put you on the
brain
spot. I
fart.
apologize.
Right. John Connor.
John Connor. Okay, I was close. I was close, John Connor, because it's such a unique relationship between this man and a machine, which the machine is adapting to be more human for this young boy and trying to be its protector. And it's this father that this young boy never had.
Right.
And it's so well done of a movie. And the ending just breaks you. Like I remember watching the last time, I'm like, I want to cry right now for a machine that is willingly sacrificing itself in order that the future may not for the future that they're proclaiming will happen, that will stop it. And I love that. I love that when you have a character who's willing to give of themselves for those that they care for and love.
I'm sure part of it's too that a young boy is the protagonist in it too, probably helped. And I cry now when I watch it, but I don't know. I guess I'm getting more soft in my old age. Like I cry way more in movies than I used to. I don't know what it is. I guess maybe getting older. I don't know.
It could be. It's no longer be like, yeah, I can't. I'll be like, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. And it's just be like, you just watch something with a kid and go meow. It's like, oh no, just tears flowing. Whatever.
But thank you again. Everyone should check out Jacob's podcast, The Cellcast. It's pretty much where you can find any podcast, like and all those platforms. And you guys review movies and TV shows, right?
Yes, we do. We are just finishing up Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure, which is the series for Tangled from Disney, and it is phenomenal storytelling because it's one of those shows that Disney Channel just treated terribly. Be like, it got into its third season, they put it on hiatus, and then they put it on a break. And we're like, me and Drew, my co-host, are just finishing up. And this show is just beating you over the head with this really amazing story, and it's worth a watch. So yeah, if you are subscribed to Disney Plus, go watch it. It's a great movie. It's a great show. And we are just finishing up Bad Movie Month because this is something new we've done, and it's something we wanted to do for years, just never around to it. And we've watched some whoppers. I think we just finished watching Titanic: The Legend Goes On, and this was a piece of garbage film because we watched we did the Emoji Movie, we did Food Fight. Food Fight was a piece of trash of a film. Now, understanding the background and that's the story behind it, it's okay. You kind of feel sympathy for it. What could this movie have done? But it's just garbage. And then we're going to do something called Leo the Lion, the finish up the month. And we've got several movies that we're going to do. We're planning on doing reactions. We're doing our Patreon. We're doing Cellcast Plus, where we review live action films. And we're planning to do Beast, I think, at the end of this month. And I don't know if you've seen anything about that, but it looks like a good film. It's Idris Elba. Be like, he's a good actor in anything he does.
I'm sold. I mean, it may be trashy or cheesy, but I'm like, I'll watch it for Idris Elba punching a lion. I'll watch that.
Exactly. But yeah, we're doing that. We're trying to get more involved with with our patrons and stuff like that, trying to because our numbers are growing as a podcast, and that's good. And we've got
that's great
connection with it's a wonderful thing. We've been doing it for nearly 5 years, and it's fun. And I get to watch some really good movies and some really, really bad movies.
That's how it goes sometimes.
Mm-hmm. It's a great experience. And like, if you're a movie buff, well, obviously you are, obviously. And just like anybody else who just loves movies, and be like, animation is gold in some ways, then others it's trash, just like anything else. And then you get those little gems like, wow, that's an amazing film, or something from Ghibli, or some just unknown film, like we did. One of my favorite films now is Pro Mare from Studio Trigger, and this is a cheesy, like over the top. It pokes fun at the like one of the lines is stop making up stupid names because the main protagonist is making up names for his giant robot, and it's hilarious. And the story is so silly, but it's such a great film, and it's mind-blowingly visually. So yeah, I love doing this as kind of a hobby, and I'd be like, podcasting is a wonderful experience if you've never done it. And after 5 years, it's such an amazing experience, and I love the opportunity to do it. It's been wonderful.
Well, yes. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for talking this movie. You're welcome back anytime, whatever you want to talk about. And yes, everyone, please check out their show. It's really good. And if you love animation, I highly recommend it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And go see a movie if you want to. It's getting to where there's good movies coming out again.
Exactly.
I'm looking. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to?
Just looking forward, like me, be like after watching Top Gun Maverick in theaters, be like, come on, October, give us the physical release of the film. Come on.
I think it's October. I think it's November.
Oh, it is November. Yeah, that's why they pushed it back. Darn it!
It's on digital though already.
Yeah,
so like, you can rent or buy it digitally, but the Blu-ray doesn't come out till later. But that's partly because it kept making so much money. Like I think it's still in the top 10 at the box office.
It is, which is nuts.
And you told me at the beginning of the summer that Top Gun was going to be the biggest movie of the year. I would have been like, "You're joking? No way!" Like,
yeah,
only people are seeing this are people that were alive in 1986. But for whatever reason, it's like that movie that everyone is going to see. It's a good movie, and I think it's better than the first one. So
yeah, same here.
But again, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening and your weekend. And yeah, feel free to come back anytime.
We'll do. Be like, hey, we might invite you guys over for an episode in the Cellcast.
Hey, anytime. I'm always welcome to talk an animated movie. Yeah, maybe not the ones you're talking now, but anything.
Oh gosh, that would be interesting.
But
it's like, yeah, let's review a film that's absolutely trash and try to figure out if there's a diamond in the rough in this film, and there probably isn't. But we've got films that we're kind of setting up for this season and next season, and we're actually going to try to do like a kind of a reflection of what we did in the first year and get to review some films that I absolutely love. So yeah, thank you again, guys.
Absolutely. And everybody else, stay safe, enjoy your weekend. We got a jam-packed weekend for us. I'm about to start our spooky season episode with The Frighteners and Drag Me to Hell.
Ooh.
Got Coen Brothers with A Serious Man and True Grit this weekend, and then keep posted for what we're doing in the future.
Nice.
Trying to wrap up Ridley Scott and the Coens. I may start doing double features on some of these so we can get done, especially those Ridley Scott ones, because there's a lot.
There's a lot of them.
All right, everybody. Good night. Jacob, thanks again.
All right. Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure. And it's been like what, a year and a half, like 2 years in the making to do this podcast?
At least a year. Yeah, it's been a year. So I'm glad we finally got to do it and wrap up James Cameron for now.
For now. Until Avatar 2 comes out.